Hello and welcome to another In a Nutshell video. In this video, we are going to be looking at topic 1B in the Christianity component of the Religious Studies A-Level from Eduqas. Topic 1B focuses on the resurrection of Jesus, which are found in the Gospels. This video will give a brief overview of Wright's interpretation of the resurrection of Jesus. N T Wright is a leading New Testament theologian and a former Bishop of Durham. Wright argues that the resurrection of Jesus has to have been a historical event. He writes that the idea of a Messiah dying and being bodily resurrected was completely unexpected in Jewish theology, and therefore it would not have been made up. He also says that there was no single teaching on the resurrection at the time. Wright makes it clear that early Christians came to believe in a single view of the afterlife and a single view of what the resurrection would be like. This is in contrast to the multiple views that existed within Judaism. For Christians, resurrection involves a new body with different properties. Wright highlights how Jesus could be recognized by the disciples, but he also seems to appear and disappear in some cases through locked doors. Wright also notes that for Christians, the belief in the resurrection becomes a central belief, whereas for Jews, it was not seen as equally significant. For Wright, the most convincing piece of evidence for the resurrection is the shift in the concept of the resurrection of the Messiah. Early Christians believed that Jesus was the Messiah, but Jesus had not done what the Messiah was expected to do, namely restore the temple, destroy Israel's enemies, and establish God's kingdom. In Judaism, there was no concept of the Messiah dying and coming back to life. There had been many other people who claimed to be the Messiah, and when they died, their followers went to find a new Messiah figure. An example of this is Judas the Galilean. The followers of Jesus did not abandon him when he died. In fact, Wright argues, something must have happened to transform the fears of the disciples after Jesus' death into publicly preaching that Jesus was the Messiah. In fact, most of the disciples faced torture and death for believing in Jesus. Wright gives other reasons for believing in the resurrection. He argues that the gospel texts for the resurrection are a plain vanilla narrative, not particularly mythical, and one would expect more embellishments if they were made up. Also, Wright argues that the early church would not have invented the first witnesses of the resurrection to be female. At the time, women were not deemed to be reliable witnesses, and so if the story was invented, it would have been more likely to have said that male witnesses first saw the empty tomb. Some theologians have suggested alternatives for the belief in the resurrection. However, Wright rejects such ideas. Wright argues that Jesus could not have survived the crucifixion, as the Romans knew how to kill people. He rejects that it was just an empty tomb and nothing else, as if this was the case, then the disciples would have presumed the body had been stolen and not made up a story about the resurrection. He also says that the disciples didn't simply have visions, as having a vision of a dead person doesn't lead people to actually believe that they have risen from the dead. It might be suitable to apply Occam's razor, Wright argues. Whatever the simplest answer is also the most likely. That Jesus did rise from the dead, and his followers believed this, and therefore claimed he was the Son of God. Thanks for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe down below.